went through, and the ranking points is one of the biggest changes this year because now there's 6 you can get per match. And the big thing is that tying is no longer like
that way. Look, you were not.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you were.
No,
He was.
Tying is no longer going to help you at all. I mean, like, it will help you slightly. It's only 1. Find it out. Okay.
Yes.
Wait, didn't you only get 1 before?
No, you got 1, but a win was 2. So now a win is 3. So a tie is going to help you significantly less. And there's 3 different ranking points that you can get during the game. So you can get the auto ranking point, but all robots have to leave, which means it's going to be interesting.
Sorry,
Anyone else can add
I was looking at this earlier, so I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I saw a thread on CD that was talking about the auto RP. So the wording of the manual says that all enabled robots have to have left the start line. And this could be stupid, but at least last I read it, I shouldn't even talk about this because I haven't looked at it yet.
An A-stop robot isn't enabled.
But if you A-stop a robot that disables it and it's not enabled, it's even off the start line. I would say somebody should look up that CD thread on my laptop because
You can look up on my other too.
But if that's not the case, it's super easy to just have robots. Just have an Auton that drives forward for a set amount of seconds, or just drive forward and then A-stop it. It's super easy. And then if everybody's left, you only need 1 coral scored. A kit pot can do that. So you can just have an auto that drives forward for a set amount of time. That's right in the middle, goes up, drops it in. That's your RP.
Yeah, I think especially at the beginning competitions like week 1 and 2, if you have bots that don't necessarily have a huge auto, that's going to be, a lot of people are going to be, if that counts as a non-enabled robot hitting A-stop immediately because they did keep A-stop this year.
Yeah, and then, I mean, like, I guess that's the most important point there. The other RP we have, I want to skip down here to the barge RP. We can come back up there in just a second. So the barge RP this year, you have to get 14 barge points, which is the climbing aspect. It's a climbing game this year. So the way you get the barge RP, we don't have the values up here, which we previously did, but I believe it's what, 12 for a deep climb, which is that one that's really low to the floor, so it's going to be super challenging.
6 for
it is 6 for a shallow climb,
and then 2
for a park. So the way you get that is either a deep climb, a park, 2 shallows in a park, any combination of those or greater than that. It's not too complicated. Although I do think it'll be interesting. My theory is that the deep climb is the trapping of this year. It's going to be really challenging to get that climb that's just 3 inches off the ground. So there's that.
I think it's going to be really hard for coral specific robots to do the 3-inch climb because it's such a shallow climb. And a lot of those robots will have a lot longer arms, so it's going to be a lot harder for them, I think, to get the deep climb. It'll be a lot easier for those to do the shallow climb.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive. You think that the higher climb would be more difficult, but in this case, it's actually the opposite because they just made the deep climb so close to the floor. It's like
unless your robot can completely fold up, which I mean, I have a feeling we'll definitely
but who was it? Like the really flat robots last year could grab on and then just fold up sideways. But it's going to be really difficult this year because you have people scoring coral on the reef.
And
on the coral.
Coral on the reef.
Coral on the reef. So they're going to have to be taller. So there's that.
Yeah, and also with that, even if you fold it up, you're going to have to be careful of the balancing because if your robot sags at all, it'll be really easy for it to touch the ground.
And then also it's on a chain, so you're swinging back and forth. So that's another aspect. You have to have a really good grip on it.
Yeah.
So that's also a challenge for people with hooks. What was that?
Everyone has probably read the game manual. This might want to be the faster part.
I mean, if we can just kind of go over like what our thoughts are on the rules.
Okay.
The other thing to consider, I think, is if you have a hook that's going through the center. If it's a shallow hook, if you start swinging on the chain, you could fall off. I think that's another thing you should be looking at. So having like a deeper hook so that you're more solidified on, or something that actually clamps on there. Obviously, I think that's more difficult, but I think it's an important thing to consider.
The coral ranking point is definitely going to be the complicated one. not necessarily, it's not complicated in the way you get it, but it's
We're
going
gonna
to
see
be,
it the least.
yeah, it's going to be the one that's going to be hardest to get. Because, so you not only have to do the competition, there's no longer a competition button. You just have to, each team just has to score 2 algae. But if you don't have the competition, it'll be extremely hard to score the coral. Because you have to do 5 on every single level. And I have a feeling you're not going to see many robots be able to do the highest level, especially within the first weeks of competition. Which means that that ranking point is going to be really hard to come across if you don't do the competition bonus. But with the competition bonus, it reduces it a lot. It makes it significantly easier because you only need 5 on 3 levels. So you could have 3 at the very bottom and 1 on the next. And
No, you still need 5 on each level.
No, it's for the with the co-op. I'm saying you only need 5 coral total scored on 3 or more levels. So you could do 3 on the first level, 1 on the second level, and 1 on the third. As long as you
I misunderstood that.
I thought it was 5 on 3 of the 4 levels.
We should figure this out instead of talking about it.
Only for the.
I thought it was 5.
Without the competition point.
We're gonna do a quick rules clarification here because we apparently did not read well enough. But you can keep talking, I think.
Anyways,
Yeah, talk about why is that the only reason to score?
So
algae
basically, because competition is important in order to get this ranking point, because otherwise it'll be extremely hard to get. We were kind of going over it and figured that there's pretty much no other reason to score algae at the bottom part because you get so few points. So when you score algae on the lower part, what's it called? The processor. When you score algae in the processor, you get 6 points. However, the algae that you score goes to the opposing alliance's human player, which means that that human player has the option to throw and score it into the barge. And if they do score it into the barge, that's 4 points. So you only get a net of 2, and also give the other alliance control of the algae.
So just to clarify, the wording of the competition does mean you still have to score 15. So if it's achieved, at least 5 coral scored on at least 3 levels.
5 coral, not 5 coral total, 5, so 15.
5 on
okay.
each, yeah.
Okay,
So in that case, I think the logical thing to do would be eliminate level 4, because I think that's going to be easily the hardest one to reach, because it's, 6 feet in the air? 6 feet in the air.
3 plus level, so 15 coral minimum.
Yeah. So I think what that does is eliminates level 4. So you like to score at bottom L2 and L3, which I think is a much more attainable task. And I'll say that's what our robot designs have been doing is just pretty much eliminating that as a whole.
Yeah.
So pretty much for our robot, the way we're thinking about it right now, and obviously teams that have more time may have a little more luck going for that L4. We're only going to be focusing on L1 through L3. And then potentially like a ground intake to take in and shoot the balls out in the competition thing. So that's a little sneak peek. I think we'll show you more later of what our preliminary designs look like here. But that's where we're at right now with that. Do we want to roll over? I don't know what's next.
Yeah, I was just saying, the thing for rolling out the level 4, even though there is no height extension limit, I think the level 4 is going to not be seen a ton over the first couple weeks of competition.
I agree.
Just because it is also vertical, so you're going to have to either have a mechanism to score up there or have your arm extend a lot.
Yeah, and I think we saw last year, I guess that's our opinion. We also think potentially that you could see robots from opposite alliances scoring in each other's processor, basically. So if I'm on blue, I would go and score red's processor because that means I have a higher chance of getting that coral RP. So we saw that last year with the amp, right?
Yeah.
The amp, you would go over there and you'd slide it in, you'd sort of make an agreement pre-match that, hey, we're going to go score these 2 points in here for you, but you got to not touch us. So we could see something like that this year as well.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to point that out there.
Something
you're thinking about?
Some quick game
Oh yeah,
rules.
also, do we talk about this?
Yeah, you can't really see it. I'll move it over this way.
Yeah, you have room to sort of go around. One other thing we wanted to point out is that major fouls are 6 points now. They were 5, and before that they were 4, at least from what I've heard. So there's that.
These are the important game rules. Like, obviously there's a lot of game rules, but these are the ones that we found were super important. You can have one coral and one algae at the same time. So you can be in control of 2 game pieces, but only one of each type. There's no height extension limit, which is also really big for getting that level 4. And a big one is that you cannot contact your opponent's cages at any time in teleop, which means that you cannot cross through your opponent's barge zone at any time during teleop. So it's a huge foul for that. So basically that kind of eliminates that sort of like movement on the field of going through your opponents. You have to go through your own. Noah, do you want to talk about the big defense one?
Oh yeah. So other thing we noticed is only one alliance partner on the other side of the field. That's a huge penalty. I mean, I don't think there's much to say there except for that. You can play defense, but only one person can. So the thing to consider there is you can't play right up against the scoring zone because all of that is taped off. Can't touch it. Can't touch anybody in it. And if you get touched outside of it by a person that's in it, that still is a foul. So it's sort of like last year with the trusses. We could see teams that are sort of keeping their corner in the truss in the last like 20 seconds, except this time it's all match to bait those penalties. I think the reason they did that is because this year I believe you can go and sit your robot right in front of the source and play defense there because I don't think that's a restricted area. So if you did have 2 robots, they could just go park in front of each source, and then it's like, how do you get coral or how do you get reef?
Coral.
Coral.
Coral goes on the reef.
One day I'm gonna get it right.
This one's kind of crazy because you start with a 2-point minor penalty if you just instantly do it. But then every 3 seconds after that you don't get one of your robots back, you get a major penalty.
Yeah.
Which is 6 points every 3 seconds. That's game changing.
That's an important thing to know because if you have a beginner team that doesn't know about that penalty, that might be something to bring up in pre-match discussion because if their driver goes ahead and runs out to the other side of the field while somebody else is over there, that's game ending.
I'm going to add another thing for design. A lot of teams I know like to build defense robots. If your bot can only do defense and you get an alliance mate that can only do defense, you're going to have a lot of trouble there. So
yeah,
definitely
I think chassis
something to
bots
consider.
will be tough this year at the district level.
I think it's going to cut scoring a lot. I think if you end up with even just one robot that can only do defense, that's going to cut your scoring a lot. Pins are also a big difference. No longer 5, they're now 3 counts.
Yeah.
And then discuss the weight limit.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say there. It's lower. Watch out and weigh your robots. I don't think it'll be a huge issue.
We can go over there.
Actually, maybe it will be a huge issue because you have to have a taller robot, but I would just say build light and make sure your weight makes sense.
I think we're going to roll because she's
I
almost
think we're
done,
gonna
so we
roll.
can do that first.
Okay.
Well, we're going to.
This is interesting. We're wrapping the court up. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
technique.
yeah,
Here,
I'm
here,
back
here, I
there.
got it.
We're
I got
going-
it. You get over there. You present. Come on.
Okay, we're gonna discuss. I know you wrote this down. Kind of what our plan is for the rest of tonight and then tomorrow. Yeah.
This is so weird.
All right, so tonight we don't have access to all our tools until tomorrow, so we're mainly going to be doing ideation and cardboard prototypes. We have people in another room, which we might show you in a little bit. If you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I was over in the prototyping for a bit, but we're really kind of focusing on how we're going to hang, right? That's a big thing for us right now, at least in this part of our process. And then they went over different ways to score the coil on the reef. So Noah, who you saw earlier, great shirt, he got some coil pieces of the PVC that's the same size as it. So they're prototyping with it right now to see how to put it on a reef, how to pick it up, stuff like that.
Why doesn't Home Depot let you cut PVC?
Oh yeah, it's a funny story. So,
No, I mean it's not that crazy of a story. It's
Right.
just they sell it in either 2 feet or 10 feet. So you get 2 feet, you get 2 coral pieces, or you buy 10 feet, and 2 2-foot sections are the same price as a 10-foot section. But they don't let you cut it, and who has a car that can fit 10 feet of PVC?
And we don't have access to all of our power tools until tomorrow, so.
So even if we could get it,
Yeah.
we can't cut it down. I mean that's I mean I don't really have an issue with that because we have manual saws, but like,
Yeah,
you can't
but-
get it in your car. So don't go to Home Depot's to summarize, unless you have a semi truck, I guess. I don't know.
Or you
And
want
access
to
to a
drive with the
conduit.
window open, which is way too cold to do that in Michigan right
Sure.
now. Don't do that in Michigan.
But yeah, tomorrow we will be getting access to all of our power tools. So we're gonna start building some rudimentary field elements just to kind of figure out how everything will work.
And we'll post updates on CD and maybe get some.
We'll finish this.
Yeah, we'll get you some updates on there. What else? We're prototyping. Like I said, we are going to roll over there and sort of get a preliminary design as well.
And then hopefully tomorrow we'll start putting together the actual mechanisms as well to try to hit our 3-day deadline.
We're gonna hit.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, we're going to go over to the other whiteboard down there and kind of discuss some of our bot designs that we originally had and originally made earlier today.
Oh yeah, rolling table webcam. That's what we got going here.
Wait. The back. Unless you want to reconnect it.
Okay. Here, I'll talk about LG. Actually, hold on one sec. Come back to that.
What?
Come back to mine. Go start on the hybrid. How about that?
Okay.
This is what we were
Yeah,
planning on doing here. I
So
guess.
we'll kind of start with the hybrid, and then kind of go into our more specific designs. So we spent a lot of time thinking about the coral because with the hybrid robot, we found that it's much more effective to do a more of a coral focused robot, but still do a very basic like algae mechanism.
That's what I wanted to double check there.
Yeah, so the coral we think is easiest to just have it, take it from the human player's input directly, kind of going down that slide. And then if we grab it from the end, we found that that will probably give us the most mobility so that we can actually position that coral piece how we want it. So we'll have a grabber on the end of the piece, and then we'll have to figure out a mechanism to actually actuate that and move it, because we grab it from this direction, we need to place it from that direction. So we'll need to do some prototyping with that. That's probably one of our bigger prototyping projects coming up.
Yeah, and I'll say we have already iterated on this because I'll say in the other room we have a design that we think is mostly final. So yeah, just give us 10 minutes here and we'll roll over there. But we did want to show our prototyping process as well so that teams that are thinking about each of these know exactly what we thought of.
And so with the hybrid bot, we decided that though you want to do both, focusing on coral is much more advantageous because you can get a lot more points that way because there aren't many algae pieces on the field. So you can't really score them a ton. And like we discussed over there, if you score algae in the low processor, the opponent's human player can score them and get 4 points, and you only net 2. So it's a lot better to focus on coral, but still be able to do the algae for the competition and other things like that. We went through a couple options for the algae. Originally we had a hopper, but we kind of decided not to go that route because you would need it to be really accurate, and you would also need a way in order to get the algae off of the reef into the hopper. And since they are pretty bouncy, it is very likely that it would just bounce right out of your robot and onto the ground. And then if you only had a hopper, you wouldn't be able to access those algae pieces anymore. So you wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't have many chances to score them.
Cool. Do we want to move to coral?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we ended up doing a scoop. We thought that was the easiest option.
Yeah, we saw a video of it being tested where the robot tried to just push the ball in and the robot popped up on top of it.
Yeah.
So having a ramp of some kind to push the ball up instead of a robot, that's what we were going for.
Not just a ram, but a
scoop.
Okay, that's what we're calling it now. Okay.
It's called a plow, if anybody's wondering.
Okay, I want to move. Do you want to do coral? Or is that you?
I can do coral.
Let's
but
do
if you want
coral.
algae-
I want to do algae, but you do coral first, and then we'll do
You need
algae.
to zoom in a little bit more if you can.
I don't think I know how.
Well, not
so-
zoom in.
Oh,
Just, I'm
okay.
saying move it forward.
Yeah, we're just gonna move us forward
We're gonna
here.
zoom,
You're gonna see.
you're close
Yeah,
to
you're
it
gonna see
now.
it from the bottom, so make
Yeah.
sure you're looking down on them. Judgmentally.
All right, so we've got a couple designs we tried out with for this coral. One is just using an elevator that lifts up. This will be able to reach both the L2 and L3, as well as purposely missing L2 will allow it to drop into L1. So that will reach all 3 stages. Well, not all 3, just 3 of them. The top one you could add another stage to your elevator to reach it, but that does require another one, and we're thinking about going to do that, but it's just another level of complexity. So we're looking at different ways of holding the coral in, similar to what the hybrid did, but we found that just from some preliminary prototyping stuff, we're liking using compliant wheels to let the coral slide in, and then we just kind of like suck it in and hold it there. So we've got the 2 wheels there, as well as like a base to hold it there. So you can kind of see here, I didn't draw it well, but the coral piece will kind of just go across it, and the wheels will hold the sides of it. And then there's that base bit that will hold it. And the other thing with this one is we do need to add a pivot because these are at like different angles, so that you can put it from here or down to here. And that also allows you to adjust the height of where we're dropping the coral. The second option that we were looking at earlier today was just having like a stationary thing that was almost the height, like almost max height, with an arm that goes across. That will maximize the amount of like space it can have. So it can go in many different directions, and it can be actually pretty tall if we were to add it. That way, that would also be able to reach, it'd be able to reach about 2 inches above the third L3. So that would work for L1, 2, and 3, just like the elevator design here did. That's pretty much the coral thing, as well as we want to, if you were to do like a coral bot, it would be good to also add in some sort of climb to it, because it might be easier to, it's already like coming up, and it might be easier to like implement that as well. But because the coral, you don't have, you're like working the whole time probably, there's a lot of coral, and there's no, like you're not gonna run out of like possibly algae with the fewer pieces. You might want to go for like a shallow climb, or like the deep climb isn't as important because you're already a very tall robot, and it might be more difficult to get that.
How many points is an algae?
At
For
the
a high
bottom
shot?
it says
For a
human
high
player
shot.
shot. It's 4. I don't know how much it is for.
Can we figure out that and then how many balls there are?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about our LG thing here real quick. Mine shot here. Yeah, we're figuring it out. All right, so for LG, we had 2 different designs. This one on top, we just sort of thought back to some games that I think we used larger balls, and I think the 2 we thought of were 2022 Rapid React and 2014 Aerial Assist. I was not alive for that one.
You weren't alive.
You weren't
I
alive.
wasn't alive. So this one right here,
College?
that's a pretty common design, I think, from a Rapid React bot. So you have this intake that comes out. You can either bring it back in and shoot it out using pneumatics, or just have it like fall out at the beginning of the match using like a servo and just let it fall and stay there. So those are your 2 options there, or whatever other intake you come up with. I mean, it's just extending intake. It's super easy. And we're going to test different heights on that and different wheel variations tomorrow, I think, because I think we are.
In net.
It's 4.
In net, 6 in processor.
So high, it's 4, and then how many balls are there? I think it's 9, right?
9 on
Yeah,
each
9.
side.
9
Nine
on each side.
They have
Yeah, I mean,
6.
so this isn't a terrible design for like a rookie team. It's relatively simple. You score 9 in the high thing. I don't think that's impossible to do. I think you can make that shot more than 90% of the time if you get it going just over the low
It's
bar.
even easier to get the low one, arguably.
Yeah, I mean, or the low one, but then you have the issue where it's really only 2
Yeah.
points if they make it, which we, I think, discussed earlier. If not, I'm sure you've heard about it by now. If you score it in the processor, the opponent can pick it up and shoot it up high for 4 points, and then you only really scored 2 points there.
And it also goes up to your opponent's side of the field, which means that your opponent is in control of the algae, and it'll stay on their side of the field. You can go over
Not if
and
you
get
scored
it.
in the net, if it's stuck up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they miss,
is what you're saying.
it goes to their side of the field,
right,
most
and
likely.
then they're in control of it.
Yeah, it's in their control, which you can go over there and grab it. However, that takes a lot of time.
And that's another thing to think of with defense is if you have a defense spot over there, that's all you can do on that side of the field. Nobody else can go over there because even momentarily, it's a minor penalty. And if you go over to grab something and it happens to take more than 3 seconds,
Yeah.
it's a major penalty. So
You
you
might want your
definitely,
defense bot to be an LG recovery bot. Too.
yeah, you might want your defense bot to be focused not only on defense but also stealing game pieces. So having a defense bot that has an intake might be a big part of this game. Actually, that might be good strategically. I think we'll look at that a little more.
Do you score on the other side, right, for the processor? Or you score on your
Sensor side, I believe.
Okay.
But
You score on
anyway,
your own, okay.
let's bring it back here. So anyway, intake the ball, it stays there. Once that wheel spins, you'll have these 2 wheels up top spinning at whatever speed you find. Front spin, back spin, I would say test it out. We'll test it out too. And then try to shoot it up there. And then obviously, I think with any LG design, we want a climber. We didn't put it on this one, but literally just a box climber will be just fine. Yeah, so that's what we got there. Is there Chief Delphi comment here?
No, it's just if we needed help, if we needed more for.
Oh no, I don't think we need more pieces. I think we got
Yeah.
plenty, and if not, we can buy more. I appreciate the offer though. Second one, we have the 11-14 Symbiotics, right?
Yes.
I should be familiar. They're a great team, obviously. But they had this great design in 2014, and I believe this wasn't my idea, so I'm not totally sure. But it's these giant soccer balls and the giant pivoting arm was the idea here. So you go and intake it low, pivot up, and then shoot the ball out. And this is, I think it's pretty. It's a very comparable challenge. 2014 is to sort of shooting the ball, like a larger sized ball up high, because you were shooting over them, right? I don't know. Was anybody alive in 2014?
I was definitely alive. But
Nobody was alive, so we don't
I
know how
hadn't
it
been dragged
works.
in the
But
first
essentially, you just have a pivoting arm. It does the same thing as this. Yeah, I think either design is a great idea, and I think rookie teams would do a great job. I think any rookie team, this would be a good design to focus on. We saw last year with Crescendo, you had 2 different ways of scoring. You had the amp and then the speaker. And I think what we saw work pretty well is having a hybrid bot that did amp and speaker, and then a dedicated speaker and a dedicated amp bot. We were talking about that as sort of the framework for our design here. So it might not be. I mean, if it turns out that it's really difficult to do both, it might be better to have an LG and Coral bot and then a hybrid bot, and that might be the best way to design your strategy. But we'll keep looking at that. I think we posted earlier a strategy like framework where we had like estimates for our cycle times, like our intakes, our scoring, and our travel times, and then we did some calculations like what an optimal robot doing this strategy could do. So I'd say definitely take a look at that. And yeah, I think that's all we got here. Do we want to move over to the other rooms? So we have a design that I think we're going to move forward
do you want
with.
to go in one?
We're going to do some testing on our intake
Yeah.
methods and stuff like that first, of course.
If you give us a few minutes, we will be able to make our way
let's
over
just roll
there.
over there. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll roll over there right now. We'll go live. You get the tour. Welcome to the U of M Ford Robotics building. Because somehow we got in.
We can have fun facts. It was built very recently.
Oh, that's true. The brand new robotics major. Highly recommend.
It is now very large.
That is true. It's giant. We're taking a tour here.
We're taking it over. What?
This is insane.
Here's
Oh yeah, there.
a tour of our facility.
Oh jeez. All right. He just says, "Oh my God." Read the lips on that. This guy hates us.
It's taped, I think.
Oh no, they're locking us out. Can someone let us in? The look on her face. Hi.
Welcome to Makerspace.
Say hi to Twitch. Twitch, say hi. Doing great stuff in here. Hey,
We've got like 20
can you explain us? We want to hear your design.
Yes.
Is this the board?
Okay.
ideas.
Why don't you put the board there so we have a little more
Is
space?
this the same?
I'm just gonna slide it over.
Very neat drawing of what we were trying to do.
Introduce yourself. Oh, I never introduced myself. Nobody
I haven't
did.
either.
That's okay. We'll be ghosts until tomorrow.
All right. These are Steven's drawings. They're not mine.
We
I'm
can't
much
see
more
Steven.
excited writing this.
Hold on. This is Steven.
That's Steven. But yeah, I'm James. So this is our current design for a what is it?
It's tilted.
Robot?
Coral, that's what it's called. This is our current coral design. So we've got. This is design.
It's similar.
It's okay. So it's very
It's
similar.
just like 6 on Divine Bubble.
So it's based off of a 2-stage climber in a box. The side profile is very similar to what you would see in a kit bot, but the top view is quite different. So it'll load from the human player station right at the 3 3 1 3/4 or 1.5 mark, right at the bottom of it, and then it'll feed into this little like claw kind of device. That claw device will be preset to L2. Its first extension will go to L3, and then its full extension is all the way up to L4. And it should be able to be at an angle where it slides onto all 3, including the vertical L4. And I think that's about it. This is a kind of drawn up sketch of the claw design from the top, 2 wheels on either side that can shoot the coral back and forth, and then we prototyped it in some other designs over here. You have anything else to say about this, Stephen?
Yeah, so pretty much this is the coral lifting 2-stage mechanism that James is mentioning about, which we have feeder here. And this is just a top-down view of this section here, which we also have a prototype to show later. And we also add more area here at front. This is where we're thinking we're going to do with algae, where we have the roller with algae here, which at the beginning will be upright, and then automatic we'll put it down. We use this kind of roller to pick up algae. We can either leave algae here or put algae on the storage area, depending on the testing. So the issue is here is that we are afraid that algae just get loose when we are moving around. So maybe one option is moving algae up here. So algae section will be here, coral in the middle, and in the end, this is just we are just trying to brainstorming for some climbing for deep climbing mechanisms. So one idea I'm having that is that we can have some extension arm extending out. So the cage will be in the middle where we have a clamp here to clamp the cage up. So after this is tightened, we'll use this high reduction gear to lift the whole robot up. So the robot will be lifted up with the cage here. So that's one of the idea we have to use a deep climbing here. And here just my idea because we need to make sure this is like side views. We need to make sure the cage need to be inside the clamp, so we can clamp down here and lift robot up. So my idea is that if we have just section here, if we move slowly, this cage may be pushed out a little bit until you fit here, you fell down with gravity, and then this clamp can be tightened, so we can clamp down the cage here and do climbing. But everything here just like will be brainstorming. We still need to do a lot of prototyping to make sure this is working. Yeah. We want to show the coral back there.
Okay. Yeah, we gotta take them. You want to unplug the?
No, that's okay. Just unplug.
Oh, unplug.
Here, I'm just gonna unplug this.
Okay.
I have enough battery.
Okay.
We've had a couple of iterations of this. I'll just start with the first one, actually.
Is that cut to size? It's not, is it? That's okay.
It's not real size, but.
So it's close-ish. So we originally used these blue wheels, but they weren't as effective as the more compliant green wheels. So we're using those in our prototype. So this is actually a 3-inch pipe. It's not 4-inch like we usually have. But you'll see why in a second. So the original one here, we have 2 rails. There's a green compliant wheel over here, and when you spin them both, then it just kind of shoots them out. So this would be both an intake, taking it from the human player source, and a scoring mechanism on the other end when it passes through. We then started to experiment with if we had just a rail on one side, and then a green wheel. So Stephen, if you could. So if we just have a rail, it still works just as fine, and that eliminates the need for another motor or a belt system going below it. So that worked really well for us. And we figured, what if we took this? It's actually a 4-inch pipe, but we're going to pretend it's 5 inches. 5-inch pipe on top of the 4-inch pipe, and we let it slide in here to reduce the friction. In actuality, we would put a hole right here, probably close to this end, for the wheel to go through, just like that. But for our purposes, we'll pretend there's a hole there. And then Stephen, if you could. So this works a lot smoother because there's not nearly as much friction. And then we can also look at the drill more.
So I want to try it, I want to do it.
All right, go for it. Make sure they can still see what it's. Maybe. We'll see. Careful.
Gotta make. I think you gotta make contact.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, other
There we
way.
go. Other way. That's what should shoot. Yeah, just like that. So that should work very well when it's motorized.
Cool.
Tape measure.
Yeah, so I think that's our idea there, and then we're just gonna cut the whole out, right? Do we have anything else we want to show? Oh my God, is that a rapid react ball?
Yeah, it's off-brand.
Where do we?
reaction.
Oh, it's,
Off-brand.
where do we find that?
I think that
was
was
in
on
there.
brand. I think the
The other one's off-brand. Yeah.
Well, I think it's the exact same. It's just a different color.
Hey, did
We
you guys
have, like,
have
waves.
What else do we
anything
have?
else?
Is that
Did you
live
guys
stream or
have
just
anything
video
else you wanted
editing?
to-
No.
No, I don't
No?
think so. Oh,
Okay.
we got
All
some
right.
pad over there. Yeah.
Oh, we got
So
some
we got
pad.
some basic on-shape going with our two-stage Andy Mark.
So over here, we're configuring our Andy Mark. So it's a little bit complicated because you need
Turn
slide
down
and
brightness.
joints.
Really sorry.
No, you're good.
Maybe that'll.
That's
Maybe it's
all I
down.
got. So just configuring it, and we found that we need 27 inches of each of our extrusions to get that desired height.
We're having trouble showing this, so maybe we'll post the file.
Maybe
Yeah.
turn down your brightness.
So we'll post the file. We'll post a step file. Is
Yeah,
that?
there you go. Turn
Oh,
down the
there you
brightness
go.
worked.
Oh, there we go.
So
Yeah,
here we
that's
can
good,
see
I
the
guess.
sectional analysis of our climber in a box that we're going to modify.
All right, cool. I think that's all we have today. Tomorrow we'll do a lot more prototyping. We'll try to. Oh, geez, I'm on camera. Okay, we'll try to show that as much as possible. So we'll get that prototyping posted on CD, and then hopefully begin to build out our robot. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but I think we only have 3 days here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna make this a little
3
tough.
That's
We do-
crazy.
3 months.
We do have 3 days.
Oh. Not the normal 44 days.
Well,
Okay.
thank you very much for looking at our live stream. We'll be live
Thank
at
you.
7 tomorrow again, and then possibly throughout the day.
Hopefully, actually at 7 tomorrow, not a little later.
Yes.
We'll try to professionalize it a little bit. Thank you so much, Howard. Sorry, I was. All right. Thank you so much, Howard. If you guys have any questions, make sure to post them on the thread. We'll be monitoring that. I think Brandon, wherever he went, is addicted, so he'll be down there
Chief Delphi.
at 3 a.m.
There you go.
regardless. So
All
yeah,
hours.
anytime. All right. See you later. Bye.